Sir, please. This is it then, Miss Naruhodo. Yes, it's time to put an end to this now. To the miserable curse that's been plaguing Mr. Natsume. To everything. And in my own small way, I shall do everything I can to help. I always appreciate your help, Sasato.
Suffering Soseki so selfishly sidelined.
Good morning to you too, Natsume.
Good morning. Good morning, locum student Naruhodo Esquire. Listen to you two chatting away happily as if the main player of today's trial isn't here. Why would you do that? Why?
Oh dear, we didn't mean to cause offense. I thought perhaps that because you had your eyes shut so tightly you were meditating, finding inner calm. It seemed wrong to disturb you.
I was waiting. What's the matter, Mr. Natsume? You seem different somehow. Why, naturally, that's because I've attained spiritual enlightenment. The path of literature, you see, is a journey to discover one's own death. Or such like. That's the sort of morning conversation I was hoping for. That's why I had my eyes shut.
I missed the signs, I'm afraid. Somehow. You'll have to forgive me. And you mustn't talk of your path leading to death, Natsume.
That was just an example.
Oh yes, there it is. Inner calm.
You barely came to see me at all yesterday. I was sure you'd abandon me and return to our beautiful long-lost homeland.
We've not even been in Great Britain a week yet. Yes, well, anyway. I intend to set everything straight in court today. I'm determined to uncover the truth.
I've actually reached an important decision myself.
What sort of decision?
I shall fill you in after the trial.
Alright. It would seem Sholmes isn't coming today. It's a very clever message, I think. My dear fellows, you must win this battle on your own merits. It's a very clear message, I think, that he's overslept.
The great detective, my arch nemesis. Long may he stay away, if you ask me.
Defendant, your legal representative. The trial is about to begin. Make your way to the courtroom. Today, once again, we face the Reaper, and when the Reaper stands for the prosecution, the defendant's fate is sealed. But I don't believe in that legend any more than I believe in Soseki's curse. The truth is hidden somewhere, and I won't let it escape me. I have to keep believing in my client and keep fighting till the very end.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court. I call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense.
The prosecution is ready. Yes, the defense is ready.
Very good, and I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury, chosen by lot, to remember. Are you ready? Absolutely. Justice will be done. You have my words. You mark my words, rather. I feel obliged to say I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat is sitting just right. Oh, well, I wonder if you could adjust my hat for me. Oh, and please be as ruthless as you like.
What the fuck, dude? Can you be less, can you just go to horny jail? Stop.
Thieves deserve to die, if you ask me, especially gas thieves. Look, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again now. I don't have time for this. I've got my own problems. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to a righteous verdict. Now, Lord Von Zykes, what can you tell us? The prosecution's report, please, in relation to the theory expounded by defense yesterday.
Before the prosecution delivers the black news about the black tea belonging to the blackguard in the dock, pray allow me a moment to savor a liquid of a more sanguine hue. In fact, I'll defer to the good detective for the report. Here's to you, Inspector.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. As indicated by the defense, we found a bar of soap just outside the victim's window, and there was, indeed, a frozen reddish liquid in the depression.
Yes, that's the tea. That's what Matsume brought with him.
Well, the brains at the yard analysed it, and yes, you're right, it was tea. And there wasn't a trace of strychnine or any other toxic substance.
No poison at all.
In other words, the tea that the defendant brought with him to the victim's room is innocent. It's in the clear.
What a revelation! As I suspected. This makes it quite clear the defendant says... My learned friend is jumping to conclusions again. A typical Nipponese reaction. What? Yes, it's true. No poison was found in the few drops of liquid recovered from the soap on the window ledge. But what logic is that? Would you take a drop from the Thames and conclude that the water in the ocean isn't salty? Like, look, we already knew the pumps didn't work at night. Natsume had to bottle water to make the tea to begin with. That was the only thing he had to make anything with. Exactly. Unfit for drinking, just as the victim's tea was on that night in question, as the court has already heard. Bitter was the precise word from the lips of Mr. William Shamspeare, whom the prosecution now calls back to the stand. Very well, I uphold the prosecution's request.
Shamspeare.
Yes, it sounds we're going to have another confrontation with our theatrical friend.
Bailiff, show Shamspeare to the stand.
Mr. William Shamspeare, the victim of this despicable crime.
Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember? Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeare, did have a belly full of the foul liquid given in mine innocence. Yes, but as was revealed in yesterday's proceedings, the witness is not as innocent as he had first led to believe.
By using bars of soap such as this, he has been stealing gas from the company's supply, yes.
One may smile and be a villain. Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeare, did have a room full of sweet fuel given. That's right, fellow jurors, don't forget this man is a rotten thief. I haven't forgotten. Kept about all that ice coins as a tidy secret, didn't you? You should have owned up sooner. Arrest him, I say. Arrest him at once, and let him feel the sting in my tail. Oh, indeed. By dint of vile and cowardly means have I plotted to further mine own ends. Thou wouldst not pardon my sins, of that I am sure.
If you acknowledge your wrongdoing, what exactly are you doing here?
Cowards die many times before their deaths, and for a coward such as I, death be well deserved. But would it still be a greater crime passeth unpunished? For lo, the hairy-faced gentleman of farther east than Verona did contrive to poison me.
But there was no poison in the tea. The police have tested that. What the defense would assert is an inconsistency will quickly be cleared up by the witness's testimony. Is that not so, Mr. Shamspeare?
Verily, my liege, I would most gladly speak. Very well, let the witness testify. Tell the court why it is that poison apparently entered your body. The Japanese man did come to mine chamber with tea brewed in a pot. 'Twas in my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly poured his wicked poison. Whilst feigning distraction in our debate, ne'er did a drop of his own drink pass his lips. When he departed by and by, I would use the tea that remained in his cup to make my coins of ice. Thus, 'tis no surprise the poison may not found in the tea I did pour into the molds.
So we're gonna need to prove which cup he used, probably. The poison was slipped into the cup after the tea had been poured. The normal way for poison to be administered, in my experience.
Quite, otherwise it would be disastrous if the poisoner were to mix up the cups.
But no poison was found at the scene, because quite simply the Nipponese took the bottle back to his own room. The absence of a vessel containing the poison only becomes problematic when considering suicide. Ugh, I knew that. By now, it should be perfectly clear. A bar or two of cheap soap is wholly insufficient to wash the deep stains of guilt from the accused's hands.
Sirs, madams, 'tis true that I, Shamspeare, be a common thief of gas. But, listen here, ladies and gentlemen. Wherefore would I lie? Verily, I have no cause. I have naught to lose. Well, I do declare. Thank you for your testimony. Counsel, proceed.
Yes, my lord. Okay. Let's press this boy.
Hold it!
I understand that you were already acquainted with Natsume. Is that correct?
I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Do I know thee, or know thee not? Methinks 'tis all I can know that thy destiny mingles with mine.
You lost me at the first thee.
Zounds, sir, thou must learn the English tongue afore thou turns thy hand to lawyering.
I did, but I must have missed the archaic Elizabethan lecture.
Verily and in truth, 'twas a fine-flavoured brew, though a drop of poison did barb its sweetness, as doth barb the sweet rose. That, dear friends, be the simple truth.
Listen to Shamspeare. He seems to be even in better form than he was yesterday. Either that or I'm in worse form.
That fainted evening after I did dine at Grubb's Grubbery, a local alehouse of good report, naught did pass my lips but the tainted black tea. But behold, the poison was not in the tea at first. 'Twas in my cup alone the wicked miscreant poured his poison.
Are you saying that you saw the moment the poison was added?
To have witnessed the act and then drank the tea, thou dost describe the actions of a fool. Quite so, quite so. But no one likes going thirsty, do they? Sooner would I die quenched than parched, would I have the choice.
Actually, on the night in question, the water main was frozen, I believe, wasn't it?
Were it not for the tea, in sooth I would sooner have died frozen than quenched or parched.
Right, no ice coins, no heating. The witness had more than one brush with death on the night in question, it would seem. Remind the court, Mr. Shamspeare, as to whether the accused drank any of the tea which he brought with him.
With the greatest of pleasure, my liege. Whilst feigning distraction in our debate, ne'er did a drop of his own drink pass his lips.
Hold it!
But the teacups Natsume drank from was completely empty. And let's not forget the defendant's maxim, drink tea while it's hot.
I did gulp from the poisoned cup that night, and in mine agony did I arrive uncontrolled. In the fits of pain I did knock the fellow's cup, and its contents spilt as blood from a gaping wound, methinks. Though certainly 'twas after I made the coins of ice.
An upset cup was found on the table that the victim was slumped over. There is no contradiction here. It's true, there was no tea left in either cup. But still, something about this statement is troubling me. It's Mr. Natsume's wise to drink tea while it's hot, isn't it? No, I'm not sure that's it.
Thank you, witness.
I'm just gonna present the cups right there. 'Cause the cups, like, they'd both be stained if they got if they were left for an extended period.
Objection!
You claim that Mr. Natsume didn't drink a drop of his tea on the night in question, but that's impossible.
How, chopper logic? What is this, ye dark, ye clad fiend?
The two teacups from the scene, one used by the victim and the other by the defendant, have a clear difference between them. One that represents incontrovertible proof.
Incontrovertible?
What difference? Look at the insides of the cup. Just here, there's a clearly visible ring. Yes, a tea ring. Commonplace enough.
Indeed, such stains occur all too readily when one leaves tea in the cup for a while.
And yet, Mr. Natsume's cup has no such ring.
Good lord, you're right. It's completely clean. And, prithee, sir, what makest thou of it?
Exactly what Mr. Natsume told the court yesterday, the Japanese saying he quoted.
Drink?
Tea? While it's hot. That's right, yes. The jittery Mr. Natsume was true to his usual self that night and drank his tea in no time.
Ah!
If, as you claim in your testimony, he didn't touch a drop of his tea, a ring would have developed on the inside of his cup as well after the several hours the tea was left.
But,
in short, Mr. Shamspear, you clearly lied to the court.
Yet thee to a nunnery.
Objection!
As a rule, I fill my hallowed chalice up to 7 times during any one trial. You might want to keep that to yourself. Yet, on occasion, tedium distracts me and I pour more times than I intended until the bottle is dry. Your drinking habits are fascinating, but irrelevant. On the contrary, they illustrate the fickleness of human memory. To William Shamspear.
Yes, my liege.
Though you previously stated you made coins from the ice from the leftover tea in the accused's cup, could it be that you were perhaps mistaken?
Eh?
Could it be that, yes, perhaps there was some tea remaining in the small teapot left at the scene? A fact that had vanished from your memory until now.
Faith, my liege, thou art a magician. For verily, 'tis as though thou hast seen with thine own eyes.
What?
Forsooth, I was mistook. I did plan to use the tea from the Japanese fellow's cup, but lo, when I looked, 'twas empty, and thus did I use the dregs that festered in the teapot, as my liege did suggest.
That was the most guiding a witness I think I've ever seen, to be honest. And you've just suddenly remembered that you made a mistake before after significant prompting from the prosecution. Are we supposed to believe that? People's memories are imperfect, my learned friend, which is why we rely on evidence instead, and guiding the witness. But in any case, it makes no difference. The victim's most recent testimony tells us 2 things of note. Firstly, that the poison was put into the victim's teacup only, and secondly, that this spilt cup was not the source of the insipid ice coins that have bewitched this court.
The prosecution makes a fine summary.
Furthermore, that testimony remains valid and in full support of the established facts. In other words, the inconsistency claimed by the defense simply does not exist.
What does this mean, then? I do declare it means there's no issue with the thief's testimony. Apart from the bit about thieving gas, obviously. My ladies, lords, and gentlemen of the jury, I do solemnly swear, after I did dine at Grubb's Grubbery Alehouse that night, naught did pass my lips but the black tea given me by the Japanese whose back be stooped as low as death. And on what did you dine, sir? Why, I did partake of my favourites, a broth as then wouldst be called soup, and a leaf as wouldst thou be called salad.
As insalubrious a menu as the establishment where it was served.
But ye gods will give us some faults to make us man. Willingly would I suffer what punishment 'tis seen fit to serve a wicked thief of gas. But I pray ye, wise and noble fellows, ne'er forget the simple truth. That being one thing, and this be another. Jurors all, your humble servant Shakespeare doth entreat you, punish the Japanese fellow for his sins.
My lord.
If I may speak, my lord,
Yes, foreman.
I believe we may have been duped by that rotten defense lawyer.
By me? I do declare you may be right. We all know the wall there was making coins of ice to keep himself warm.
But this lawyer lad says he's stealing gas. He deserves a dose of poison, eh? He's been leading us up the garden path, that's what he's been doing.
I really never said anything like that.
But what we just heard from the victim here has opened our eyes again. We reached a decision this time, and we won't be swayed from it, except for probably in the next 15 or so minutes.
The court acknowledges the position, and will duly hear the jury's findings. What? No, you can't yet. Ladies and gentlemen, state your decision.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
It's that time again, lads.
I hereby declare the jury to be in accord. Oh, happy day.
How is this happening? My lord, the defense asserts its right to carry out a summation examination.
Very well, the court upholds the defense's right.
Typical. My learned friend is unable to accept the obvious truth.
This trial will therefore enter its second summation examination. Jurors, the court calls upon you to state your grounds.
I'm a man of logic, me, and consider all the evidence the defendant must logically be guilty.
I do agree that gas is far too expensive. I can quite understand why the man would want to avoid paying. The stuff explodes, and it can poison you. It can be absolutely lethal, gas is. Gas doesn't come for free. It costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes.
Truth be told, the what tea my wife serves for me is a little sketchy at times.
If nothing else passed the victim's lips, there's no other explanation, is there? I do feel perhaps personal opinion about gas and its supply has influenced decisions somewhat. But never mind.
No, you really should mind. The truth is, our counter-argument wasn't as unassailable as we'd hoped. And Mr. Shakespeare was poisoned, there can be no doubt. Then how are we supposed to turn this around? I think we need to establish the method by which Shakespeare was actually poisoned. Our only hope is to demonstrate that to the court incontrovertibly. But that's surely almost impossible. If we don't manage it, Mr. Natsume will be found guilty. Sorry, I banged the table like 3 times.
No delays, Counsel.
I hate him so much. Alright, pressing time. Let's go to the people that were saying some kind of weird things, like you. Can we please refrain from all this talk of gas?
There's an all-out attack underway here, in case you hadn't noticed, against my company's gas. And I'm supposed to sit here and take it, am I? I don't think so.
She's really buzzing now.
All I've heard about our wonderful fuel is explosions and poisonings. What about electricity? What about getting electrocuted? What about that? A little explosion here and there is nothing in comparison. Any explosion could hardly be described as nothing, madam. Nevertheless, the theft of gas is deplorable. My point exactly. But the gas thieves aren't even the worst of our enemies. We have far more devious reprobates to contend with on a daily basis.
More devious? Who, madam?
Other gas companies, of course.
Other gas companies?
We generate gas and deliver it to our customers fair and square. Indeed, nobody is questioning that. But there are other unscrupulous gas companies here in London that don't even have any gas at all.
What? But if they don't have any gas, how do they go selling it to people?
You wouldn't think it possible, would you? But they steal our gas, you see, and sell that.
They steal your gas? How on earth is such a thing possible?
Gas companies like ours deliver gas to people's homes via a network of pipes. But those devious reprobates secretly disconnect our pipes and divert our gas into their own rotten pipes. And then they make a contract with the household supplied by those pipes, and take money for the precious gas that's rightfully ours without us even knowing.
They're diverting gas into their own pipes illegally. What a brazen form of theft. That is pretty bold.
When we visit customers' houses to collect the money from their meters, we always have to check whether or not one of these devious companies has been up to its tricks.
Sir?
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, juror number 3?
Oh, golly, you mean me? Oh, I'm terribly sorry, I was just thinking to myself.
I really did catch him off guard. You're thinking about what the lady next to you was saying, correct?
Well, yes. I just got a little riled about it recently, you see.
Go on.
An Altamont gas worker visited my house the other day to investigate the pipe work. We need to ask for your cooperation while we carry out a secret check of your property, sir, the fellow said. So I let him in, and do you know what he did?
I'm afraid I have no idea.
He proceeded to take one of my lights off the wall, and he grabbed the exposed mouth of the pipe and started blowing into it. What do you think you're doing, young man? You're giving away company secrets. Oh, please, everyone knows, but it was very nearly the death of me, I can tell you.
What do you mean?
I'll explain, if you don't mind. As I said before, these unscrupulous other gas companies connect their customers to our pipe network.
Yes, but how does blowing into the pipes come into it?
Obviously, there's gas in the pipes, and it's at a fairly low pressure. By blowing air through the pipe, you can make the pressure drop temporarily. And if you do that, any lights connected to the same pipe will flicker for a moment.
Alright, this is clearly important.
In other words, if blowing into the pipe, the lights of an adjacent property that has no contract with your company flickers, you can know what these devious scoundrels have been meddling with the pipe. Exactly, my lord. That's it in a nutshell. It's the reason why we have teams of workers going around neighborhoods to investigate. Trouble is, the particular worker who came to my house didn't know the strength of his own breath. He blew down the pipe with all his might, and you can guess what happened, can't you?
Well, if he blew hard, then do you mean...
That's right! The lights didn't just flicker, they went out, along with the stove. Gas started pouring into the house.
What a disaster. The gas supply must have been interrupted briefly because the man blew too hard, so the flames went out.
I'm afraid I yelled at the fella. Are you trying to kill us all? I said.
So by disconnecting a lamp and blowing into the exposed gas pipe,
He's been trying to kill Natsume. He's been trying to kill Natsume by blowing into the pipe to turn his lights off. And then when the gas starts flowing again, it just silently seeps into the room. Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps... Yes, this is almost certainly the clue we've been hoping for. Juror number 3, the defense requests that you amend your statement to include that information. Oh, well, if you like, I don't mind. Well, I do. Like I said, madam, it's widely known. Very well, you will amend your statement. Yes, my lord. Allow too hard and you extinguish everything in the house. Then you're in real trouble. Can I really put that to anybody else yet? Defendant must be guilty. Can I understand? We should go and press on that, the sketchy tea also. You mean it's poisoned?
That's right. It's happened a tidy few times now.
This is most troubling indeed.
It's always days like this one when I don't get any wages. I get in at tea time, see, and I see her doing it. My wife. She gets the devilish look on her face, and she slips some white powder into my cup.
Are you sure the white powder isn't sugar? And you drink it anyway?
I was brought up proper, I was. If someone gives you a cuppa, you drink it.
And what happened to you? Did it taste like? What did it taste like?
It was god-awful, believe you me. Salty as hell.
I don't think it was poison that she was putting in it. Then I think perhaps what your wife put in your tea was salt.
No! So she doesn't even care enough to poison me properly, eh? Unbelievable.
Let's move on, please.
Alright, Does that mean if the victim could be shown to have ingested something else, you change your leaning?
Sorry, what was that now?
Oh, I was just saying...
What's the matter with you?
Sorry?
I said if nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation. Haven't you been listening to me at all?
I feel as though there's an English expression about a pot and a kettle. Compared to the other jurors who don't even appear to have anything to say about the case at all, it would seem this elderly gentleman has been listening to the proceedings far more intently. I suppose. Trouble is, he has selective hearing. Exactly, but still, this juror may well be the key to the breakthrough we so desperately need. This is hopeless. Do you think we just put the gas with him? Wait, what? Hold on. I wasn't expecting a prompt. It's important to watch every... No. No need. We already did that. Alright, let's press on the other ones as well.
Hold it!
All the evidence, you say?
That's right. And there's no room for doubt. It's all pointing at that Japanese man with the big mustache,
says the Englishman with the bigger mustache. Which means we need to show the man some new evidence. If only we had that kind of evidence. Don't worry, this summation examination has barely started. Perhaps there'll be a shift. To start with, I need to find some way out of this deadlock.
I do agree gas is far too expensive.
This isn't the time or the place to be discussing the price of gas.
But really, think of the injustice. Air is a gas and air is free. Why should ultimate gas cost money? It makes my blood boil. I can feel myself becoming more ruthless than ever.
This isn't the time or the place to be ruthless.
If I might interject.
Yes, madam.
It seems my fellow juror takes issue with our price that the company charges for gas. But it's precisely because of thieves like this man that the cost goes up. Oh, what a beastly man. That unkempt mustache, those hunched shoulders, poisoning tea and stealing gas, utterly unforgivable.
Mr. Natsume isn't the gas thief. I'll thank you not to go adding more crimes. Natsume hasn't been poisoning tea either.
Well, anyway, I've quite made up my mind. It's made up as the price of gas.
Alright. I guess... Gotta be this, right? What else are we gonna say? I mean, nobody else said anything when pressed, so...
Objection.
Those two statements clearly contradict each other.
Good gracious, to whose statement, counsel?
Juror 6. Did you hear what Juror 3 said? I don't know why I was so unconfident about that one. There's nothing else to go with.
Of course, I heard him mumbling about something or other.
There is another explanation here, I believe. Something besides Natsume's tea did, in fact, in a manner of speaking, pass the victim's lips on the night in question.
What explanation?
I wonder, did the police check the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the wall at the scene? To see if there was any trace of poison there? I was curious to see what your floundering would result in this time, but the mouth of the gas pipe? Scotland Yard have enough to do without exploring such irrelevance.
What a piece of work is a man.
What are you trying to say, Shamspeare?
What speakest thou, prithee? Is it not strange and strange? That is what I say to thee, sir.
I thought I'd been quite clear, but let me put it another way. The strychnine could have been put on the mouth of the gas pipe that feeds the wall lamp in your room. And that is how the poison came to enter your body.
Good Lord.
Are they tasty then, gas pipes? Is that what he's saying?
Or is the gentleman suggesting the poor man was so desperately hungry he tried to fill his belly with gas? Perhaps no actress would perform a kiss scene with him, For shame, madam. Speaking of I fancy, I assure you I am not such a buffoon that I have to kiss pipes.
This is no summation examination. This is a farce. The prosecution will not stand for any more of our learned Japanese friends' conjecture. To begin with, the lamp in the victim's room is high on the wall. In order to have placed his lips on the pipe that feeds it, he would have had to have been a contortionist. These are empty assertions. He's really going to town this time. There is no possible proof the man did as you say. It's true, I have no proof Shamspeare put his lips to the pipe. However, I can say with certainty that on multiple occasions, Shamspeare has been doing something in front of that lamp. And I have evidence to prove it.
Alright, you've got our attention, lad. I'd like to see how you can be so sure.
So would I. Let's see this evidence then.
Now I've got the jury's ear. I need to make this opportunity count. Behold, the photo of the many hands.
What the?
These are... wait, what are these called? Yes, skin prints that were found at the scene.
Skin prints? I've never heard of such things. The Justice Ministry is currently assessing whether or not to permit fingerprints.
My lord, this is an exciting new forensic technique developed by the detective Dr. Sherlock Sholmes. It reveals all the places Shamspeare touched in his room.
I've never seen anything like that. I mean, that's black magic, isn't it?
Well, if anyone could invent something, it's that great Sholmes fellow, that's for sure. I agree that this month's edition of Engineering Thumbs was quite fascinating.
We found skin prints in many places that we would expect. The table, the costumes. However, Mr. Shamspeare also appears to have been touching some very unexpected places. For example, here.
Around the hanging picture, indeed, multiple handprints appear to be visible. Well, I wonder, could he have been appreciating the artwork?
At first, my colleague and I thought the same. However, imagine standing with your hands where those prints are, and would you find yourself directly in front of...
In front of? Oh! I don't believe it. The gas lamp.
Though the reason why isn't immediately obvious, it's clear Shakespeare has regularly been standing with his hands to the wall in front of the lamp.
Right, what are you been up to? You nuts?
I'd ask the court to recall juror number 4's earlier statement.
Me? What did I say?
You said that blowing into a gas pipe would make the lights in the entire building flicker. And now, if you'll recall juror number 3's statement.
What, me?
When the gas worker who visited his house blew with too much force into the pipe, it caused all the lights and the gas stove to go out, and gas to start leaking into the rooms. Obviously, that incident was an accident. However, the simple fact is, if Shakespeare were to have blown hard into the gas pipe in his room, he could have extinguished every other light and gas stove in the building.
Crikey!
Are you suggesting that the man purposefully caused the gas to?
Whilst I acknowledge that the prosecution is required to remain silent during a summation examination, I must toast my learned friend's utter disregard for the letter of the law.
What is the meaning of this, Van Zykes?
This curious photograph, or whatever it is, presented by the defense, the so-called skin prints. Clearly that cannot be accepted as any form of usable evidence in this case.
But it's an exciting new forensic technique developed by a detective.
It's nothing. A mere toy developed by an amateur sleuth with too much time on his hands.
Certainly even research of this nature by the esteemed Sholmes cannot be recognized by the court as formal evidence.
Please, my lord, if I may. It was not the defense's intention to submit the skin prints as formal evidence. We merely wished to present the results of the great detective's investigation of the scene, as a tool by which to explain a possibility to the ladies and gentlemen of the court. And if the trial were to come to an end now, we should never learn the truth behind these mysterious handprints that everyone has now seen. I don't believe we can allow that to happen, and I'm sure the jurors would agree.
You're right. Whether those strange handprints are significant clue or not, it's down to us to decide.
Juror 3.
Oh yes, I do declare the great detective's investigation results sound absolutely fascinating. And I do want to hear what that shady actor fellow has to say.
What's the matter with you two? That was foolhardy.
Well, I did say it, didn't I? And I don't like to break a promise.
No, wait. You heard his lordship. It's not fair, Dinkum. Easy.
Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. If just one more juror changes his or her mind. Natsume's trial. It seems a little weird that a deadlock doesn't result in the trial continuing. Oh no, it was you who identified the clue after all. This is very much your success. Why, Mr. Shakespeare, you seem to be losing your composure. Just one more juror, Naruhodo. You can do it.
Very well. Continue, counsel.
Well, who do we go for next? We can't use those anymore. What do we do now? Huh. Well, what now then? Press her again, like press on them again, I guess? Talk of gas, Oh, this did change. What did it see? Demonstrate another possible explanation. What do you make of that?
What, your so-called skin prints?
It's an exciting new forensic technique developed by the great detective. The numerous handprints on the wall are clearly out of the ordinary. And if Shamspeare had indeed put his mouth to the gas pipe, it can't be denied there's a possibility that's where... Oh, God, excuse me. That's where the poison was.
Well, yes, I can't deny that's playing on my mind. But as the prosecution rightly says, we should pay no heed to unacceptable forms of evidence. And besides,
Yes.
even if the fellow has been up to some mischief with the gas pipes before, doesn't mean he got up to the same shenanigans on the night in question, does it?
Oh.
If you can't make your case better than that, I'm afraid I can't change my stance.
You make a very solid point, sir. What?
That's true. Perhaps I was a little hasty.
No, wait.
Look, you've got your chance, haven't you? It's time to prove your theory. And if your Japanese cohort can, that is.
Please leave our nationality out of this. If we can't substantiate our position, I'm afraid the jurors will change their mind before they'll change them back again. What can I do? Is there any proof I can give to show Shamspeare really did blow down the gas pipe on the night in question? I have supporting testimony. Yes. No, in truth, I don't believe I don't have evidence to support my theory. However, there is witness testimony that substantiates it.
What's that? Testimony? This is incredible. Whose testimony?
Yes, it's all connected. Everything is linked. A person whose testimony revealed details about the gas. Natsume.
Take that!
Obviously, I'm talking about the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume himself.
The defendant?
At the very beginning of the proceedings here in court yesterday, Mr. Natsume said the following.
My lodgings, there's been a whole series of strange happenings. Even on that fateful night it happened. Even when I returned from Shamspeare's room, I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out and somebody tried to kill me.
On the night in question, the gas in the defendant's room went out. So I asked the court, was that a mere coincidence or not?
Good golly. So that Shamspeare fellow blew air into the gas pipe to make the man's stove go out. Hold your horses there. Why would he do that?
Mr. Foreman,
What is it, man?
we cannot allow judgment to be passed while this doubt remains. It's true that I don't have conclusive evidence yet. However, you must surely agree there is more to this case than meets the eye.
Yeah. Fair enough. Like I said at the outset, I'm a man of logic first and foremost.
We did it, team. Although I'm a little mad that a deadlock isn't enough, but that's 4 jurors leading not guilty. We've overturned the decision. Therefore, the defense calls for the trial to continue.
As the defense has rightly indicated, the summation examination has concluded with a majority of jurors altering their decision. 2 jury members now called guilty, 4 called not. Therefore, the jury's opinion is conflicted, and in accordance with the law, I hereby order the continuation of the trial. Mr. William Shamspeare. My lord, how can thy humble Shamspeare serve thee? What say you in response to the various revelations made? So God mend me, I do solemnly swear. I recall aught of either the lamp or the pipe.
But your handprints have been made a tidy mess all over the wall there. How'd you explain that?
I am done with this. The dignity of this great courtroom has been sullied enough already, juror number 5.
Oh, me?
As I went to some pains to point out already, a print from the self-professed detective's toy has no place in a British court of law.
Yeah.
As such, whether or not this man did indeed stand before the gas lamp with his hands against the wall remains at this time unestablished conjecture. You would all do well to remember that.
Ah,
Objection!
But the prosecution must concede that it would be extremely simple to verify. Just order the mouth of the pipe feeding that lamp be examined. If there are traces of poison there... What appears to be extremely simple is my Nipponese friend's mind. You will recall that in order to check for the presence of poison in the tea, some remnant of tea were required. Yes. Therefore, it should be beyond your wit to imagine that even if poison were to have been spread on the pipe, it would have completely evaporated by now, making any analysis impossible. Ugh, I didn't think of that. In any case, Counsel, I fail to see what could possibly have motivated the man to do as you describe. Why on earth would this fellow have wanted to blow air into the gas pipework? There's only one possibility that I can think of, and that is to use the leaking gas to commit murder. Order, order! Counsel! Precisely whose life do you propose he was plotting to end? Yes, this is supremely simple.
Take that!
If a gas lamp were to go out, it would be noticed immediately, of course. But a gas stove, on the other hand, could be silently extinguished by the killer without anyone noticing.
I live round those parts myself, so I know what it's like. I can tell you, trying to sleep without the stove lit is pretty much suicide. You'd freeze to death.
Mr. Gary, the landlord, had a large fireplace in his part of the residence on the top floor. In other words, it wasn't the landlord, but a fellow lodger whose life Shakespeare was trying to end. Outrageous! I'm talking, of course, about the defendant. Mr. Natsume isn't the villain in this case. He's the victim this man was trying to murder.
Objection!
The accused is actually the aggrieved. Interesting. However, the fundamental facts of the case remain unchanged. Namely, that the accused is the aggressor here. What? How can you still claim that? Let us indulge your fancies for a moment and assume there was indeed poison on the mouth of the gas pipe. The question then arises, who put it there? Who did put it there? The only logical conclusion is that the person responsible was aware of this man's trickery with the gas supply and his intent to kill. Yes, that would seem logical. If the assailant were unaware, how would he or she have known to lace the end of the pipe? So now we must ask, how could anyone have known of Mr. Shakespeare's murderous designs? Well, there was the guy spying on him. Naturally, the sole possible answer to that question couldn't be more obvious. Only the man whose life was being threatened could possibly have known. What? In other words, the person who put the poison on the gas pipe in what was a clear retaliatory attack can only have been the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Ah. Whatever Mr. William Shakespeare may or may not have contrived to do, he was nevertheless the victim of a potentially lethal poison attack. And the only person who could possibly have perpetrated that attack is the accused, Mr. Natsume. Disagree. The defense counsel's theorizing has failed to avert suspicion from the accused. Far from it. In fact, now that a clear motive for the poisoning has been successfully established, that suspicion is greater than ever. Would you not agree, my Nipponese friend? No, to be honest. The other guy's been spying on Shakespeare, and he was pretty mad that he was stealing gas. How did he manage to turn that around on me so rapidly? Mr. Naruhodo, you must respond, otherwise the members of the jury may very well change their leanings. And this may be our last chance. What advantage? Well, it would seem that somebody put poison on the pipe in Shakespeare's room, so we must name that person now and absolve Natsume. Name the true culprit. I know it might sound impossible, but if we fail to do that, I have no doubt Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed. As it happens, one possible culprit does come to mind. The evidence, the poison, it's all pointing to that particular person now. The prosecution calls for the jury to consider their leanings again. I trust you'll make the correct choice this time, Mr. Foreman.
What? Oh, don't you worry.
There is one other person who I believe could have been involved. The true culprit of this crime.
The true culprit?
A term found only in second-rate novels featuring third-rate great detectives, my Nipponese friend. But why not? This farce has gone on long enough already. I see no reason to cut it short before its disappointing climax. Thank you. Tell us, my learned Nipponese friend, what is your latest theory? Who is the so-called true culprit of this crime?
Take that!
You claim that... Really? You're not gonna go... Really? Really? So if it's not this guy, which is pretty disappointing, I was pretty sold on that one. What are the other options it could feasibly be? She couldn't have, like, told him to do it because she didn't even know what they were doing. Gary doesn't have a lamp in his room, so he couldn't have done it. If Shamsphere was gonna do it to frame, because I thought he could have done it to frame himself, to frame Natsume for trying to kill him, but why would he have done it in such an obtuse way if that's what he was going for? So that doesn't leave very many people. Obviously, we're not gonna say Natsume. So who does that feasibly leave? This guy's fucking dead. So... Olive? She's like the only other one left, right? Wasn't him. Really doesn't seem like it's her. He's dead. He doesn't even have a gas lamp in his room. Also, like, he wasn't in prison in the future trial, so, you know. Shamsphere didn't do that to himself. We're not trying to say Natsume. By process of elimination, is it Olive? Because it's obviously none of us either, is it?
Take that!
The name of the person responsible for the poison that affected Shamsphere, I believe, is Miss Olive Green.
Miss Olive Green? Olive Green? I do feel as though I've heard that name.
Miss Olive Green? The woman from 6 days ago? The victim in the recent case of stabbing on Briar Road, an incident for which Mr. Natsume was arrested, I hasten to add.
Oh, of course, yes, Miss Green. She was left comatose for 3 days.
And I hardly need to remind the court that Shamsphere's poisoning took place 3 days ago. Given that the woman was lying comatose in a hospital bed at the time, she appears to have a rather fine alibi. True, on the night the incident occurred, Miss Green was in hospital, so on the face of it, it would seem she couldn't be responsible, but still. My colleagues and I visited Miss Green in the hospital yesterday, and we found her to be in possession of a bottle of poison.
Good gracious, she had poison?
And there's another fact that links Miss Green to this case. The defense requests that she be brought to the witness stand in order to explain the details.
Tell me, Shamsphere. My lord, pray, what be thy bidding? Are you acquainted with Miss Green? No, never heard of her.
Judging by the look on Shamsphere's face, I think perhaps he genuinely doesn't know her, at least not by name. As the voice of Her Majesty's prosecution here, I adhere to my word. We will see my learned Nipponese farce through to its conclusion. I appreciate that. The prosecution requests a short recess, my lord, in order to subpoena the witness and bring her here.
Yes, Miss Olive Green.
Indeed, my lord. 1 hour should be sufficient.
Very well, I grant the request.
Excellent, I hope.
The defense has made a most extraordinary accusation, I must say. But at the present time, I feel the prosecution's argument remains largely uncontested. Accordingly, I'm afraid the defendant and his culpability remain the sole subject. Thank you, counsels. We reconvene in 1 hour.
I'll be honest, I don't really know how we're gonna swing this one. Because, I mean, we've got a few hoops to jump through to prove this one, I feel.